Skateboarding videos went from this to this. It didn't happen overnight, but through the 40-year-old struggle involving some of the most insane people to have ever created skateboarding videos. Videos went from being created by companies to being created by skaters who wanted to let viewers into what the culture was at the time. Super cool. And edgy like me. Without realizing it, these skaters going against the grain would help to create a formula. One that rewarded shock, escalation, and suffering. And eventually that formula would leave skating behind entirely. So before getting into bum fights, let's rewind to the beginning of skate videos because things get pretty wild. The first skate video to have ever been created was this weird ass video about a gang of boys riding skateboards around town wearing no shoes. You better be careful, put some shoes on, boys. A girl riding her bike ends up crashing into the same little skater boy over and over and end up falling in love or something. I don't know, I don't think people in the 1960s understood the concept of love yet. They literally just let black people vote that year, so who knows? Love might look different in the 60s. Even though this is more of a cute little short film than a sick skating video, it did set the stage for what was to come, especially with scenes like this. Hell yeah, 1960s counterculture, racism, don't understand love, beating people up. Skater Dater featured the professional skateboarding team, Imperial Skateboard Club, in front of the camera. It was crazy, gnarly. They were wrecking it up. You see that? Boys got moves. As the years went on, the legendary Zephyr Boys, which included women, would revolutionize skating in the downtown/Santa Monica area. During a drought, they began skateboarding and doing aerial maneuvers in empty swimming pools in their area. Before the Z-Boys team, skating was extremely uptight, but the Zephyr team would take over skateboarding, make it a lot less uptight and a lot more rebellious with their SoCal attitudes. Skating used to be like this. Oh yes, skateboarding. And then the Z-Boys started making skating like this. I'm gonna f your mom. Skateboarding went from people doing nose wheelies on their boards to people using their skateboards like surfboards and getting really close to the ground, which looks super weird, but was really cool at the time, and it's still cool to some people. Stacy Peralta, who was one of the main members of the Z-Boys, ended up forming a company with Powell, who was known for Bones skateboarding wheels. Their company would become known as Powell Peralta. But what does this got to do with skate videos? Stay with me, goddammit. Subscribe. Powell Peralta would go on to form their own skating team called the Bones Brigade, which featured famous skaters like Rodney Mullen, who's the inventor of the flat ground ollie, Steve Caballero, Tony Hawk, who we all know, and other famous skaters from back in the day. Though Peralta and the Z-Boys were known for going against the grain, the Powell Peralta brand was mainstream and corporate in order to get the common man involved in skateboarding instead of being for miscreants of the night, like God intended it to be. This can be seen through the Powell Peralta creation of one of the most revolutionary skateboarding videos to have ever been created. The Bones Brigade video show 1984, which featured highlights from all of the aforementioned skaters and opened the door to the invention of skateboarding tapes. With these videos, they showed safe falls, fake interactions, I got the skateboarding, and whatever this is. There was a police interaction.
You've just heard is true. The names were changed to protect the innocent.
But that was the police interaction. What was that? Lame as hell is what it is. During this time, skateboarding was extremely corporatized and ran by the 5 biggest skateboarding companies: Powell Peralta, Vision, Santa Cruz and Independent, Thrasher, and Transworld. The biggest issue is a lot of these companies were owned by people who didn't skate, or punk-ass skaters who sold out. Not me though, I'd never sell out. This left a lot of skaters at the time to believe that they weren't being represented. The big 5 companies were making millions of dollars using the likeness of skaters and paying them close to nothing. They were also running magazines that censored the nature of what true skate culture was, to try and push suburban moms to let their children skate. But conflict would soon arise for these 5 companies, and their castle of twigs would be destroyed by a man named Steve Rocco. Was originally a freestyle skater who was sponsored by Sims and kicked out of the team by Brad Dorfman, the creator of Vision, for having a rebellious attitude. Dorfman also told Steve,
skaters can't own companies. Brad Dorfman told me that. Skaters aren't smart enough to run companies. Skaters aren't smart enough to do ads or marketing or know what other skaters want.
And CEOs aren't cool enough to skate. Fucking got 'em. You might be rich, but you're still a nerd. This fueled a raging fire inside of Steve. It caused him to go into skateboard distribution with the help of
Skip and Blum,
the founder of Santa Monica Skateboards and the founder of the Zephyr Boys. As he began to start his company, World Industries, he began to hire more and more skaters who were fed up with the direction that skateboarding had taken. By promising a rawer look into skate culture, Steve was able to get famous skateboarder Jesse Martinez to hop on board. Soon after, Rodney Mullen and Mike Valley would both quit the Bones Brigade at the same time and start working for Steve Rocco. They said, "Goodbye, Powell Peralta. We don't need you."
Powell Peralta felt so corporate and felt so, I was so alienated by the whole thing that I was ready to do something radical and, I didn't care.
"I don't need no man. Unless it's this man over here who's giving me more money." That's what they said. And Rodney Mullen would become a direct part owner of the World Industries company. This is when skateboarding would peel back its golden curtain and reveal the punk-adjacent nature that it had going on behind the scenes since the Z-Boys were involved in skateboarding. Steve Rocco was hiring skateboarders and helping them build and sell their own brands. Skaters went from barely surviving to making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars through skateboarding.
That was cool. I wasn't tripping. I was buying a car every month. I had a new car, 100 of them.
At this time, World Industries would start buying ads in two of the biggest magazines at the time, Thrasher and Transworld. World Industries would create ads like this. They'd also make boards to sell that looked like this. Just some family-friendly fun. A couple years after World Industries was created, they'd begin to produce their own skate videos. These skate videos were insane, but they felt real to what was going on behind the scenes in skating. The first video that World Industries would release was called Rubbish Heap. It was conceptualized by Steve Rocco and directed by Spike Jonze. Yes, Spike Jonze, like the guy who directed the movie about that dude trying to bone a robot. This would be the first video to show skating as it was. It showed gnarly ass falls, people getting pissed at skateboarders for skating.
Did you hear what I said, fella? That's not made for that.
And a kid eating an earthworm, then vomiting after eating it. In 1992, videos would get even crazier when Plan B released a video under World Industries titled The Questionable Video. And oh boy, was it questionable. The skate video featured skate banter.
Supposed to kill someone and he came from the future, but then his program malfunctioned and so now he's invincible, dude, and he can fall on his face and it won't hurt him.
Fights, a fall compilation. And a skater throwing cake at a stranger. That's a pretty mean thing to do. Not too long after the creation of the questionable video, Steve Rocco would go on to release his famous little kid holding a revolver up to his head advertisement for World Industries. Thrasher refused to post this ad, and Larry Balma of Transworld also refused to post this ad.
He goes, "I had a friend in high school and he himself."
Who knows why?
Do I want to publish that with a chance of some kid might think that that's a cool thing and himself?
And hell would begin to break loose.
I can't do that. I can't run my company by what bad things happen to you.
This would be the final straw to push Steve Rocco into creating his own skateboarding magazine. Big Brother magazine started terribly, with Steve Rocco hating the first issue so much he gave it away for free. So he'd go on to hire Jeff Tremaine, who would later become the co-creator of Jackass, as a leading art director for the magazine. Soon after its creation, during the third release of Big Brother magazine, they'd go on to release an article titled How to Kill Yourself. This article would become highly infamous. Just about every single news outlet was releasing a story about how evil Big Brother magazine was.
Because mixed in with skateboard articles and stories of graphic sex is an article that details how to kill yourself.
And this free advertisement gave rise to higher magazine sales. As Big Brother continued to grow, a lot of jackass faces began to appear. Johnny Knoxville hosted an article where he tested self-defense equipment on himself. Wee Man worked in the mailroom. Chris Pontius was a writer. And Elias Rodriguez would watch them from afar. They had all the jackass people we know and love. Big Brother was the biggest skater edgelord magazine around, featuring nudity, people hurting themselves for fun, and drugs, including the very notable Bong Olympics. As the magazine went on, a lot of the stunts being performed started to be filmed, which led to Big Brother's very first production of their VHS skateboarding tape titled Shit, which was released in 1996. The tape featured lots of nudity, Wee Man running around painted blue for some reason, a guy harassing drag queens,
Fruitcake!
News articles about how evil Big Brother was.
It's a shocking magazine. It tells you how to commit it tells you all about drug use and also explicit descriptions of sex.
The fun would soon end in 1997 when Steve Rocco would start to take himself a little too seriously. He started bashing on skaters that used to work for him through his magazine, saying things like, out with the old, in with the new, about skaters who helped him come up like Mike Valley. The magazine started to go under, which caused Steve Rocco to sell it over to Larry Flynt, the famous pornographer. After the acquisition from Larry Flynt, Steve-O would become a reoccurring character in the Big Brother magazine after he lit himself on fire, did a backflip, and almost burned his entire face off. If this is all it takes to get famous, skate videos were starting to evolve into stunt videos. And though Big Brother was one of the largest pioneers in this, so was a little video series called CKY stands for Camp Yourself. I refuse. CKY started off with Bam Margera, along with his brother Jess Margera, who's the drummer of a band with the same name, and a bunch of Bam's friends like Ryan Dunn and Brandon DiCamillo, compiling a bunch of home footage they'd filmed. The first CKY came out in February 1999. It was released under the Skate Wheels brand Landspeed, who was sponsoring Bam Margera at the time. These tapes featured the crew kicking footballs at cars.
Shouldn't be playing football out here in the main road.
It was an accident. What else do you want us to say?
Bam destroying a rental car.
$9 a day, you can do whatever the hell you want with a rental car.
And Brandon DiCamillo doing this drive-through prank.
And I will fuck your father's asshole!
Which is literally just him harassing this fast food worker.
I don't think you've got much cum in your face because it's all inside your belly fat.
I think these tapes were created before guilt was invented. The release of the CKY tape being 1999 would be pivotal, as at the same time, Jeff Tremaine and Spike Jonze would be meeting with MTV to conceptualize a little show called Jackass. During this time, Jeff Tremaine would see the CKY tape and hire Bam and his crew to be co-creators of Jackass. Because a lot of Big Brother's content was too over the top, a lot of CKY's content would start to be placed in the Jackass TV show. Skate videos had gone from becoming all about the skating to focusing on the culture to having nothing to do with skateboarding anymore and only focusing on the most outlandish parts of the culture. The stunts, if you can even call those parts of the culture.
Let's get them off. Just get them off.
I don't know. Jackass had taken the mainstream by airing on MTV, but only 2 seasons in, the show's run would come to an end. Producers began to worry that a lot of kids would begin copying the stunts and that lawsuits would begin to pile up. And let's be clear, kids did copy this. This led producers to try to make the show more tame, so Johnny Knoxville left. But no one could have ever expected how some kids, evil kids, would end up copying the show. In 2001, Bum Fights: A Cause for Concern would come out. The film was created by Ryan McPherson and his art crew In Decline. He was inspired by CKY. While in high school, Ryan would make friends with 2 homeless people, Donnie Brandon and Rufus Hanna. They were known in the San Diego suburbs for their antics. According to Rolling Stone, Brennan once jumped off a giant hill on a dare that Hannah had given him. After filming and releasing some videos, McPherson caught the attention of some Las Vegas locals who created similar videos. They started an art collective called In Decline and would compile all of their footage to make a Jackass-inspired tape that would be known as Bum Fights: A Cause for Concern.
You know, we showed it to millions of kids out there in San Diego, and everyone had the same response. They were just shocked and couldn't believe it. They all thought it was better than the Jackass and the CKY stuff.
Though unlike Jackass, instead of performing the stunts themselves, they would pay homeless people to inflict injury on themselves, or on some occasions, just outright abuse homeless people, like in the case with the Bum Hunter. And this is where they pretended to be Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter, and would kidnap homeless people.
Not gonna hurt you! Not gonna hurt you!
The tapes also featured high school fights and homeless people abusing drugs. The In Decline group and McPherson himself keeps claiming that these videos weren't meant to be exploitative.
It's just all good, friendly filming. It's not, in any way, exploitation. I never saw it as that.
According to them, they were supposed to bring awareness to the homeless problem in America. But the treatment of homeless people was just downright cruel. McPherson also had all the homeless people in these films sign away their likeness so that they could never earn anything from these films. Though McPherson and his crew saw nothing wrong with that, the American judicial system did. They were sentenced to 280 hours of community service. They were supposed to help homeless people at shelters, but McPherson lied about doing his community service and ended up having to spend 180 days in prison. The In Decline crew would also have to pay out $300,000 in a settlement 4 years after the creation of the movie to Hanna and Brennan. The creation of the Bum Fights films had the same effect that the Jackass movies had on the In Decline crew. Copycats began coming around. One of the worst cases was the 311 boys who would start paying people to fight them. If people refused to fight them, then they would start beating the person up on camera until they finally agreed or ran away from them. On many occasions, these fights would end in the 311 boys jumping the person who agreed to fight them or the person that didn't even agree to fight them in the first place. They ended up getting into hot water after throwing a brick into Tanner Hansen's car when Tanner Hansen was trying to get away from them. Tanner Hansen was driving 90 miles per hour and the brick crashed through his windshield and went right into his face. Luckily, Tanner didn't die, but he ended up needing multiple facial reconstruction surgeries. Another terrible scenario occurred when a group of Australian teenagers picked on the one homeless person in their town and asked him if he wanted to be in a movie. When the homeless man refused, they set his encampment on fire while he was still in it and filmed him burning to death. The progression of skate videos to exploitation wasn't created because of one bad person or because skateboarding is evil. In those 40 years of skateboarding, the camera followed rebellion until there was nothing to rebel against at all. With nothing left to push against it, it latched onto misfortune. We watch pain that doesn't belong to us. We laugh and have a hard time blinking, afraid that we might miss a single second of destruction. Thank you, have a nice day, goodbye.
Come on, bitches!